creativity and innovation. Let's talk about something awesome. And for our viewers
Nah,
out
I want to
there,
talk about things mediocre.
let's talk about things that suck. Um, Actually, that would be a good one. Let's talk about
Things
things
that
that suck.
suck.
So we could start doing a video on Sundays called Sucky Sundays. Right, we just complain all day. It would be very, very
Uh,
popular. It would probably be really popular. People would probably love it, which is unfortunate.
yeah.
Um, so let's see. What is awesome right now? What's something really cool? I have a friend in the next town over. He's a new friend. Um, his name's Jeff, and he has a hot sauce business and Silk City hot sauces. At one point, he jumped on a couple of our live streams, but he hasn't been a
Regular.
regular as far as I can tell. But I met him at the farmer's market this summer, actually, at the beginning of this summer. And he came over and we hung out for a little while. I gave him some marketing advice. He gave me a box of like 10 of his different flavors of hot sauce. And they're really great. And you guys might not know this, but my first business was a salsa company. And so I'm a big lover of hot peppers, hot sauces, salsas, all that kind of stuff. And he started, like after that meeting, he started doing regular videos on Instagram more than Facebook Live, but he's doing a bunch of videos for his hot sauce, and he's starting to get momentum and traction. And it's just been really cool with the whole 99 days thing and people making all these videos based on their passions and interests in business and beginning to get in the rhythm of doing it on a daily basis. People are just coming up with some crazy, really cool stuff. And I'm very happy about that. Something
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
You got anything new? Anything exciting?
I'm still trying to figure out why my post came through, and then I realized that I was not tuning into a live on the Art of Email Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Art of Email Mondays, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Time for some more coffee.
Yeah,
So
I'm just, well, you know me, I can't do two things at once.
maybe I could hypnotize you for that.
I don't want to be hypnotized from that because I don't want to change.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Off the table then. It's off the table. So let's talk about innovation and creativity, though.
Yeah.
I had an interesting call with someone who very smart, very creative, very innovative, and one of the things that he mentioned several times during our call is that he's always trying to reinvent the wheel. And he recognizes to some degree that it's not always the right time to reinvent the wheel. And that's one of the reasons he's not making the money he wants to make, and one of the reasons his business isn't where he wants to go. But his tendency, his normal way of operating is not to want to do things the same way that everybody else has done them, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely a black sheep. He's an outlier, kind of a weirdo. No offense, if you know who I'm talking. The guy that's listening. Like, I love weirdos.
Well, you just described me to a T.
Well, I know. Well, so that's the thing is that most, in particular, internet entrepreneurs, but most entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs that I know. Innovation is one of their key traits, right? They like the problem solving. They like the startup. They like figuring out how to solve unsolved problems, taking things in a different direction. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck innovating at the wrong times in the wrong places because it's their knee-jerk reaction, and they end up trying to build business models that are super creative that have no legs, but you don't know it because you're trying to innovate. You're trying to come up with something new. So, Joshua, as a creative, innovative entrepreneur, how do you make decisions about when to innovate, and how do you, for lack of a better term, know when to hold your tongue? Like, know when to, okay, well, I know I'm getting creative here, but it's not going to serve me right now, right? Where do you draw the line, and how do you do that? And then I'll happily share my thoughts as well. But what's your deal? How do you make those distinctions?
Well, I'm a little bit of a outlier of the outliers, I guess. I always try to innovate or change it up or reinvent things when I see the same thing being explained the same way by more than one or two or three, or, when something becomes standard operating procedure and becomes commoditized, I do not like explaining it the same way or
Right.
stepping into the same arena. So everything that I do when it comes to innovating, at least the reason why I learned to innovate well was for marketing purposes, so that I could reposition it. The reason why I named NPod rather than list building, or rather than copywriting 101 or something of that nature, is because NPod was uniquely me. Does it teach about list building? Absolutely. Does it teach about email marketing? Absolutely. Does it teach about building relationships in an online and in automating? Absolutely. However, by saying all those things, and this, by the way, was at a time when none of those things were common everyday terms on the internet. It
Right.
wasn't overused, but I wanted people to not assume anything, not to not be able to put me in a category when they heard NPod. I wanted them to go, "What the hell's NPod?" And I wanted to have good rhythm and around it. But at the same time, where I have to ask myself, am I innovating for the sake of innovating? Am I stuck in, not invented here syndrome, where, like, because I didn't come up with it, it's not good enough, and those types of things. And for me, what I've got to do is I've got to balance it out, the innovating side with, what's the job to be done right now? What am I trying to achieve? And frankly, I'm not always successful, because I have a tendency to start with, let me, from the ground up, create the proper positioning that I feel is necessary to stand out. And then from there, it can go. So oftentimes people beat me to the punch, or I will create something with a business model that is scalable to, tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars per year. But I don't take it past, 3 to 5 million, maybe 10 million. And then I get, on to the next thing, even though it's built for that. So I guess the short answer is, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no one right or one wrong way to do this. It's something that we all are going to have a different relationship with, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my come from, and it seems to have served me well, so I don't really change it up as much as I should until I see that I'm stalling on getting in the game, and I'm using it as an excuse to not, like I said, get in the game. But I enjoy creating from nothing, and I enjoy repositioning things that are seen in a different way now, because of the way that I communicate it. And generally speaking, when I do that, it takes me longer to develop the business model. But when I do, it's like evergreen, because, people try to imitate it, but they're imitating the leaves, not the roots,
Right. Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. And so, yeah, the way that I tend to handle it, as we know, in working together, is a little different. Right. And sometimes it causes some challenges, or even miscommunication and misunderstanding between us as we're trying to figure out
how to interface,
how each other's brains operate. Right.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to take the wax on, wax off approach. Right. The good old Karate Kid, little Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
Because I'd never want to listen to anyone about anything as my general way of operating in life. And so I've adopted the conscious choice to say, if I want to learn a new skill that I'm going to bring into my business, or any area of my life, I'm going to do my best to check my ego at the door and just learn the basics, the details about how to do something somebody else's way, right?
Sure.
Knowing that I'm going to make it all sorts of weird in the future, because I'm going to see huge opportunities that they missed out on and ways of evolving it. But I'm not so interested in creating a business or a business model or a funnel from scratch in and of itself that's innovative on a structural level. I'm more interested in using a structure that has a high likelihood of succeeding, because where I tend to shine is by evolving it, by making it way more interesting, way more engaging, or really a different experience than what people are used to having when they register for a webinar, or when they buy a product, or when they get on an email list. So I really am a big fan of learning new skills, and so when I'm learning it, like if I'm when I learned how to do NPod, this was like the first time I really did a great job of this in my life, I think, is when I went through NPod and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check my creativity at the door here and just follow the damn instructions, because I'm tired of being poor, right? And it worked. But I put my own spin on it after the foundation, the skeleton was built. When I learned how to do teleseminars, it was the same thing. Like Alex Mandossian's style is not at all like my style, but I learned so many great skills from him back in the day when I first had to learned how to do group presentations on the phone before webinars existed, right? Same is true with sales letters, sales videos, webinars. Yep. For me, anyway, that's how I like to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting, because when you said I checked my ego.
You froze up there for a second. I can't quite hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? I was just saying that because when you first said I checked my ego at the door, my initial reaction was, well, so do I. I am all about, learning from other people. But then I also started digging into it, and I realized that sometimes it is my ego getting in the way, because a lot of the stuff that I'm working on, I've innovated already. I've created a standard operating procedure, and I want to adapt what I'm doing right now to to what I already know. I don't have to learn a new skill at it. I just have to adapt that to this present situation, and that is ego, right? Because like here, I already know how to do this. Now let me just adapt it. So it's
I do the
interesting.
same thing in that way, because I know how to do it, because I learned those different skills too, and so I should say I try to check my ego at the door. Sometimes I think maybe I succeed.
Fair enough.
Right? Certainly not immune by any stretch of the imagination. Does anyone else struggle with this? Does anyone else struggle with
that's a good question.
Innovating too much or too little? Do you find that you have too many ideas or too few?
I think for me, when I've got to, I'm just thinking about it now. Like when I realize that when I'm delaying, when I'm not getting into action. So when I've got to draw a line in the sand for myself and say, all right, I'm going to, focus on a process goal, and I'm just going to get it done and get something out there. I realize that usually when it's a way for me to hide out. It's a way, like I've been hiding out. It's a way for me to avoid getting in the game. And I still get scared to launch, even on areas that I know very well and that I feel supremely confident in, that I've made millions of dollars in successful results. I still get caught up. And I realize that when I get stuck in this, another offshoot of this innovation is perfectionism. Well, it's not quite right yet, and learning to balance the scrappy with the like something meaningful, and making sure that it's not crappy, but also at the same time that I'm not hiding out, trying to avoid getting in the game. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I recently, my kids asked me to start coming up in the morning and doing some workouts with them. And that's been really interesting because I wasn't pushing them to do that at all. They requested morning workouts. And so we started doing that. We did that this morning. We did a few times last week. And of course, they haven't ever done that before. They went to, and so what happens is you do the first few exercises, and that's good. And then all of a sudden things start getting a little uncomfortable. You start getting a little tired,
Yep.
a little hot. Sun comes out, it's beating down your head, right? It's time to do the second run of the morning or whatever, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I really don't want to do this right now, and then one's brain finds all sorts of other things to do, right? Ways to procrastinate. Oh, we need to take a water break. Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, I need to go get the sit-up machine from inside. I need to, go check my phone. No, none of these things are true. You need to do some push-ups. And so it's very interesting. Once we get tired and uncomfortable or a little stressed, it becomes very, very, very easy to dodge those process goals that you might be where you might be trying to build a muscle. So like if you're just like working out, right? If you're trying to get good at writing copy, for example, like spend an hour every day copying sales letters, something that's often said and frequently not followed through on by anyone. Sometimes people do it and they make huge strides in their copy. But left to your own devices, like, do you really want to write out a 23-page sales letter by hand this morning? Probably not, right? It's not the most exciting sounding thing. Yet it's what builds the mental muscle to write amazing copy. And
yeah, and I got to say, just on that subject alone, you never know a miracle that literally takes place on a holy shit, something has been re-engineered inside of me that's different now.
You should restate that. Like the first half of what you said totally got cut off.
Oh. I was just saying that just on the topic itself of rewriting the copy, that you never know the power of doing that until you actually do, because something re-engineers itself in your very nervous system, and you'll never understand the joy and the visceral understanding of what happens until you push through that and have a process goal of saying, look, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to follow through on it. And I'm just going to, I'm going to do a half hour, an hour a day. And if I don't get the full, 24 pages done, so be it, but I'm going to do that hour, and then I'm going to keep going an hour a day until I get the 24 pages done, and see if something re-engineers in me, or, like see if something shifts.
That's right. That's right. Kiyoki, how's it going? I went to high school with Kiyoki Johnson, and he says, I think you should reinvent the wheel when no other solutions work for you and other people. When I was a kid, there were no adaptive equipment to help me sit or stand. So my dad designed and built my equipment, and he continued to do so for other kids when I no longer needed that kind of equipment. That's wicked awesome. I didn't realize that. Your dad is awesome. You're awesome. Your whole family's pretty awesome.
Right? I'm so glad that he said the word adaptive, because that is something else that triggered in my brain as I was listening to you earlier, Telman. Is I forget who Dean Jackson was quoting, but he was talking about, like, as entrepreneurs, there's two types of challenges or problems that we have to deal with, right? There's the adaptive challenges, and then there's the technical challenges. And as entrepreneurs, we strive, we excel at the adaptive challenges. And we, by nature, really don't like the repetitive technical challenges, but they're equally as important to solve and to automate. So the word adaptive, just, I'm sorry to jump in here, but I think that's there's adaptive ideas and technical ideas, and on the technical side of things, I'm always willing to follow what's always been done before. On the adaptive side, it's that's what I'm addicted to doing. And it gives me joy. So, like, how do you balance what your stupid human trick is with, the results that you're looking to create?
That's right. That's right. It's a very good question. Yeah. I mean, I love to innovate. I love trying new ideas. I love trying stuff just to see if it will work. But personally, I'd rather have a business that's a little bit less innovative and a little more boring, that predictably brings in money, that I can try random stuff with whenever I'm feeling innovative, for a lift, for an experiment. But like, if the goal is to build a business that's reliable, that's consistent,
How do you balance, though, like the concept that it was all the rage? It seems to be dying out a little bit now, but like funnel hacking or looking for the hacks and the loopholes. How do you balance when you're imitating what everybody else is doing, and it gets to the point where do you want to put in the time and effort to duplicate what's already being done and have it burn out quickly, where you have to redo or reinnovate or find the next hack that is going to, push it along, versus when do you say, all right, from the ground up, let me take what's working in this particular area, let me adapt and adopt different principles, and let me design something from the ground up. I truly don't know the answer to it. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is always to go for the higher ground. That's just part of my stupid human trick and who I am, but I'm not saying it's the best, and definitely it costs me, as much as it makes me.
Right. I guess, I like to think about like the whole funnel hacking thing. First of all, I want to point out that writing is writing. And what I mean by that is, whether you're writing a novel, whether you're writing short stories or poetry, whether you're writing a biography or a Bible. I guess technically a Bible, you wouldn't be writing it, but you know what I'm saying. If you're writing a book, you're writing something and you publish that, it's copywritten, okay? It's copywritten based on who published it first, okay? When you write a sales letter, when you write an email, when you write a sales video, just as much, if not more, time, effort, energy, research, thought, etc., went into that writing that goes into any other form of writing. As a matter of fact, in many cases, a good piece of marketing had a lot more time, effort, energy, and revision put into it than
without a doubt
a fiction novel, right? And you can't copy someone's stuff legally. You can't just clone someone's copy and ideas. And so when I talk about funnel hacking personally, I think about it like, who has the business that you really want? A lot of startup entrepreneurs, they're trying to get a business going, but they've never started a single business that really paid the bills before. Okay? Never started a business that truly generated their full-time income, generated income for some employees, ran it, like really did it right. And if you're trying to innovate on your first business, I really recommend that you innovate with the wrapping paper, not with the guts. Not
well said.
And so, like, if you want to, it doesn't matter what niche or industry you're in, but if you're writing your first webinar, okay, and you just bought somebody's home study course on how to write a webinar, how to create a killer webinar, my recommendation is follow their blueprint to the letter, and then split test with your innovations, your adaptations, your evolutions in order to make it uniquely yours. And so over time, you're going to end up really tweaking and changing the way that whole thing looks and sounds and feels, most likely, if you test it over time and you run any significant amount of traffic through it. Now, another way that you can do this is you can build 50 webinars and do one a week every week for the year. And you're going to evolve your model as you go because you're going to learn new things. You're going to see new things. Similar to split testing. Let's say you're doing live webinars on a weekly basis, which happens to be something that Russell recommends. So, or at least he has in the past. So this is another way of innovating as you go. But like, if you build the skeleton of the system, of the funnel that you're building based on something that's proven, but you inject your personality, your own style, your own way of writing, your own way of naming things, That's how I would recommend that you do that over time. But if you're in the earliest stages of startup mode, I would really focus on, and you've never done this before, I recommend that people do their absolute best to essentially set their opinion aside and do what your guru told you to do your absolute best to follow the blueprint exactly. And here's why. If you're following someone else's blueprint, chances are pretty good that you paid for help and support, and chances are pretty good that their blueprint or their recipe is probably tested. They've probably done a bunch of them, and they've probably had other students follow that recipe.
Sure.
If you do it and it doesn't work, but you didn't follow the recipe, you're going to have a really hard time getting help to get that thing working because you didn't follow the instructions, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, you've got the clone syndrome, and while you say that you're not allowed to copy, that everything's copyrighted, and I totally agree with you, I think where people get stuck in general is that when they try to duplicate, not adapt it to their needs. So they, like, you follow the right recipe, but they try to get the same ingredients that the guru is using or that somebody else is using, and they use those ingredients rather than getting their own ingredients that applies in their situation.
Let me give you an example of this that might confuse the situation more, which I always like. So there are many gurus out there who teach affiliate marketing, for example, and will teach and show people that affiliate marketing is the thing, right? And look, I made my first $1 million with affiliate marketing. It's awesome in many ways. I'm not bashing affiliate marketing.
I made 50 million in gross revenues in essentially affiliate marketing.
It's great in many ways. It really is. There's nothing wrong with affiliate marketing, but there are a lot of gurus out there who will have success with affiliate marketing, building an email list, selling ClickBank products to their email list. Basically, that's how it works. And then they're like, hey, you can copy my success. I'm going to give you clones of my 5 funnels in my ClickFunnels account. I'm going to give you 120 emails.
The private label rights to my business.
Yeah. You can have all my sales letters, and I'm going to even tell you the ClickBank products that I promote to my list that have worked in the past, and I'm going to give you the emails that promote them. You can just change my name to yours, steal all my copy, and all you have to do is put traffic in, and you have a business in a box. You have a turnkey business. So
ask Kern how that turned out for him.
Well, yeah, that's right. So as soon as internet marketing gets another round of FTC regulation, yeah, all those guys are going to get smacked again, which happens every 10 years or so.
Well, and I mean, Kern knew exactly. I mean, he had to learn the hard way, but even before the FTC smackdown that he endured, that ultimately turned his whole business model around to a glowing success as a result. But even leading up to that, he started to discover some of the problems with that type of an approach from the buyers, from the there was a whole host of things when I happened to work with him and that we needed to correct, but we couldn't because based on the way the model was set up, it just didn't you couldn't correct it legally because he made the promises that he made.
Well, this is where the question of how do you make it uniquely yours comes in. And so the issue is that it's really easy for I have no problem with the term guru. So it's really easy, as a lot of people are all anti-guru, but the reality is that it's easy to sell, clone my business. I'll give you a business in a box. Sure. I already did all the work for you. Give me $2,000 and you can promote all my stuff as an affiliate and you can promote my friend's stuff as an affiliate too. And you'll be ready to go with 30 days, little or no effort on your part. All you have to do is press the button in ClickFunnels and you're ready to go. Well, first of all, it's not that easy. Number one. Second of all, here's the real issue with this. Is that if you're entering a market, and really the only market that does this for the most part is the internet marketing how to make money on the internet market, right?
Right.
Occasionally somebody sells this kind of stuff outside of that zone, but it's very rare in my experience. And because what people are doing is they're saying, look, I've had success with this. This is what I did. Follow in my footsteps, use my sales letters, use my emails, use my products, use my process, use my traffic sources. And why wouldn't you have similar success? Well, the reason you won't have any similar success is because you have no self-confidence. Okay, you don't believe in yourself yet because you're not an internet marketing guru and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And this is the issue, is that people go into they try to start businesses around topics in which they have no authority, experience, or expertise.
Right.
And that's why it will never work.
And I don't know if you ever read my Escape the Clone Syndrome special report that I wrote.
I remember that.
Back in the, it really speaks to this. But even if it worked, and even if it works for, like all of the people that are doing it, because in theory it should, but for how long? Because once it becomes standard operating procedure and everybody's saying the exact same thing, it sounds like either noise or a lie.
Right.
And not only is it going to stop working for the people that have purchased it, it's going to stop working for the guru too.
That's right. Now, this type of model does work in the food industry. So the interesting thing about food is that it's consumable. And once people know they like it, they'll come back time and time and time again. So now, I'm not a fan of fast food, but a lot of people are. If you know you like Taco Bell, you're happy to see another Taco Bell when you're out on your road trip because you know you can get something you can rely on and you can trust. And Taco Bell's right there and you can order your favorite stuff. That's a cloned business where being exactly the same as every other Taco Bell is an advantage. So there are situations where it's an advantage. But when you're online and you're trying to be different, you're trying to be distinct, right? It's very hard to do videos, to write personal emails, to write sales letters, or to create new products when you feel like a con artist, when you feel like you're pretending to be something you're not.
Yeah, when you're perpetrating a fraud or a lie to the public, then yeah, you even if you're doing a great job acting it, there's something that comes across in that insincerity or that disconnect for sure. But I also want to talk about like one of the big issues. Like I'm not down on franchises. I'm not down on network marketing business. I'm not down on business in a box type deals. You just have to understand what the nuances are. And like, to go back to your Taco Bell example, there's a territory. And, there's a waiting list to buy a McDonald's, to buy a Burger King, to buy a Wendy's. Yeah, a shitload because it works. And the chances of...
Depending on the franchise. Yep.
Yeah, well, I think fewer than 1% McDonald's have ever failed beyond, at this time and age because, they have all the formulas down and that's literally what you're buying. However, you're not competing with yourself.
Right.
You're not competing with other franchisees. You've got a territory and, a place to operate within. And in the internet space, consumable or not, whether it's a pills and potion type affiliate promotion, if there's no territory, if there's no way to regulate that, then it's going to be survival of the fittest. And not to get into this whole nuance of affiliate marketing success and stuff, but that's one of the things that I built NPod around, right? Mm-hmm. Is that to build your list and your relationship with that list prior to making any sales, because that's the other thing that seems to get lost in the affiliate promotion game. Like just use my system and it may be awesome. And it may very well be $1 million, $10 million business model. But if you don't have the relationship first, you still got to get traffic, and not just any old traffic, traffic the right way with relationship so that it's responsive, so that you can do it profitably. It's a big difference.
Huge difference. Huge difference.
And that has to be branded to you.
Totally does.
right? I
You
mean,
know, well, it has to be branded to you or your business or
something different.
your mascot, right? It needs to be
Right.
connected to someone that is unique, and that becomes your territory. Your unique relationship
Right.
with your people then is, and that's
It's
why.
like, I mean, direct linking works in ads in some situations, but for how long,
Right,
right?
right,
So, you know, you find something that's hot, you get on it, and you do a direct advertising link, and you know, you put $1 in ads in, and you get, you know, $2 back out again. But for how long? Until everybody starts doing the same thing, and then it gets saturated, right?
right,
But if you're promoting the same product, but you're doing it by way of a mascot, by way of a relationship, by way of you know, something different,
that's right.
then you can promote whatever you want, and it's not a in a vacuum. It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing, perpetual thing by exchange.
I know that I did it a little differently than a lot of people did with NPod in terms of like how I figured out the traffic source and the way to build a relationship, even though I was selling affiliate products. But one way of doing that, and this is one way, guys, but one way of doing that is with interviews. Okay, whether you start a podcast, whether you do a split screen interview series like you see Joshua and I doing here around a theme or a topic, whether you start a Facebook group and you just talk yourself. But the point is creating that connection.
Your summit model.
Exactly, the whole summit model idea is if you're just beginning and you have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but you're approaching it with you know, a beginner's mindset, you know, and you're humble about it and you're willing to ask people questions in the industry, it's one of the best ways to bond with all the biggest players in the industry and create really valuable, wonderful, interactive, and engaging content for your people by interviewing all the celebrities who are around. It looks like Joshua's signal just dropped here for a second. I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. But when you go through something like an interview process, you don't need to pretend that you are an expert because you're telling people that you're a beginner and you want to learn. And so you're going to interview all the experts and you'd love to hear from your listeners if they have questions. And the talk show host model has been around forever, I want to point out. You talk about the Oprah effect, same thing. Think about every single freaking talk show host you've ever heard of on TV or radio. Your entire life, there have been people doing talk shows in multiple mediums and multiple formats in all sorts of industries that you've come across because it works really, really, really well. I'm going to guess that's Gene. Hey, Gene.
And I'm going to guess that's Gene inside the Art of Email. Yep, it is. What's up, Gene?
Nice, nice. So creativity, innovation, there are times to be creative. There are times to innovate. I would encourage you to focus on learning skills first, innovating second. At the end of the day, if you've got the skills, innovate all over the place. But if you don't know how to drive traffic, if you don't know how to write emails to your list, if you don't know how to build opt-in pages to get people to opt in, if you don't know how to do webinars, if you don't know how to write sales letters, these are all skills that you can improve on. And you can.
Can I add an additional and then to that also?
Please, absolutely.
Make sure that whomever formula you're following, it's principle based.
That's right.
So that it's not tactical what you're learning, because then it's not a skill that's going to be having any longevity for you. So, I mean, you know, if you're going to spend the time to acquire that skill, to gain that new capability and ability, then better make sure that it's principle based so that it can expand and grow with you and you know, accordingly. Because that's a frustration of mine, frankly, when I'm learning something new, is I look for a teacher or somebody that I trust that is principle based, so that it's going to be around. You know, the tactics might change,
right,
but the core idea and understanding is able to adapt to whatever is thrown at it.
Yeah, it's true. Very important. So if you guys want to build your audience the right way and build a connection with them, whether you're selling other people's products and services through affiliate programs, or whether you already have your own products or services, or you have some ideas for some products and services that you're going to create in the future. If you like what we're talking about and you want help doing this in a way that will work and that is sustainable long time, where you truly are going to build a direct connection, bond, and relationship with your fans, with your followers, with your subscribers, with your clients, and with your customers, then type relationship into the comments below and shoot a Joshua or I a private message letting you know, or letting us know, that you'd like to chat about how to develop a better relationship with your, I'll just say your list, even if you're just starting out. And we'll ask you some questions. If it makes sense, then we'll talk about how we can work together to help you reach your business goals. So just type relationship into the comments if you want to follow up with this and talk about it more.
Yeah, and do us a favor, if you're watching the recorded version of this after the live, in addition to whatever you might write in the comments, which are appreciated, reach out to us directly via the private message, because we don't often get the notifications that we've received a new comment after the live is done being live.
True enough. True enough. Awesome, everybody. Well, thanks for being here. And
likewise, Telman, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll wrap for the day and see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.